last stories from the deep timber. With Bigfoot fades. Glitch in the tree line, glow in the dark, searching for prints and a mist of spark. The fog is rolling in like a VHS tape. High speed chase for a shadow shape. Across the ridge, hear the elk call ring. The snap of a branch, the weight of a thing. A thermal heat signature lost in the gray. Whatever was there just faded away. Chasing the legend through a neon haze. Lost in the woods for nights and days. The signal is peaking, the truth won't fade. Deep in the forest with Bigfoot fades. West Coast stories. Never sleep, West Coast stories. The secrets we keep.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I wanted to share a couple things, by the way. BMR and Paul, thank you for helping mod the show. Check out BMR's books by 1 and 2. I have both of them, they're awesome. And then also I've got my Paranormal Paul hoodie on today. I put the link in chat. Paranormal Among Us, so check out his website and show for both of them. Blondes and Booze, Truth or Tinfoil, all the misfits are amazing. Just wanted to give a special shout out and thank you to you guys today. All right, well today, and also Bigfoot Society too, we'll be talking about how Jeremiah helped me and my guest Erik Heiser today meet. Without him, wouldn't be able to do all of it. He's got some great stories, Erik Heiser, today, so I'm going to bring him on stage here. Hello.
Hello, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on.
Love the intro, by the way. It really just paints a whole picture about Bigfoot. You got the orb. It's changing into different creatures there. You probably have heard some stories related to that stuff, I reckon, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, probably more than me. I've stepped away from the Bigfoot thing for a while, and I'm kind of getting back into it. Got the itch after reading this recent book. I'm like, got to get back out there. You and Jeremiah, you mentioned from Bigfoot Society, you guys interview so many people. You're like experts on the subject now because you're talking about it so much.
Yeah, definitely. That's how I started learning that there was so much going on for me locally, as I found Bigfoot Society's show on YouTube because I was kind of searching for anything I could find. And when I started seeing so many Oregon stories as far as local, I mean, I got addicted. I was watching every night and couldn't get enough of it. So, and then you were on there recently.
Oh, really? Oh, you saw that? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, it's up. I think it posted a couple weeks ago. Your show.
Damn.
Yeah, so yeah, I saw a snippet of it and it's pretty good. So
okay, cool. Nice.
Well,
I mean, honestly, my stories I feel like aren't nearly as interesting as a lot of these other stories that I've seen from other people. Mine, I feel like, are just granted, there are some things about my encounter that I feel like I haven't heard in a lot of stories. There are some elements like having multiple individuals, getting surrounded, getting screamed at. These are like really aggressive behaviors. I personally haven't heard or read of those types of encounters too much, but
yeah.
maybe you have.
Well, something I wanted to tell you too, that's when you first reached out with your email, you mentioned like, hey, I don't know if my stories are like very, useful. I forget the exact word you said because maybe not as bigger as some of the other ones. But I wanted to tell you those are actually the most useful stories because what we're trying to do is collect data. And like, for instance, if someone says, yeah, I saw Bigfoot collecting blue items and somebody in another state, and this is something I've actually heard, here's them collecting blue items. They have this attraction to color. And so that's how people do research, is by collecting all this data. So it's actually very valuable to hear your story.
The blue item actually makes sense because that is almost like the rarest color in nature, especially if it's like a large item. This is just
Interesting.
something that would be like treasure to them. It's just something they've never seen. Imagine just seeing a large object of a color you've never seen. It's like,
What is
the big, yeah, that's really cool. I could see why they would grab something that's blue, but why not purple too? I don't know.
right?
They,
Exactly.
they'll grab whatever, purple, ice chest, a little boy sitting in a meadow, like, man, like I was just reading some historical encounters about abductions, man. They go way deeper than I thought. There's so many abductions.
So many, yeah. And like, so what happened? What story do you want to start with first? Like that happened to you personally?
Well, I'll try to just go through it as quickly as I can to just give a good, quick synopsis. Basically, I was mostly living a city life for a while, and then I just hit this point where I said, "I'm done. I'm done. I got to get in the woods." And for me, it was that incentive to go look for gold. So I went out there, started looking for gold, and I was going by myself a lot of the time, or just with one other person. And I was quickly starting to have these encounters out there, and they started to build, and they were just strange. And I would just say, "Nah, that's." I couldn't explain a lot of them, but the first thing I noticed is I was going downriver, and there was this, and there's like these trees on the side of the path, and they're really thick branches, like at least 4 inches, all really healthy. And then I was going the same place every week, and then one day I go there in the morning, and they're broken all at the same level, and they were broken not by a tool or anything, and they were healthy, and they just crossed the path, like they blocked the path. And I was just looking at it thinking, this is so odd. How and why? And like, it's those just moments where you're perplexed. Like, there's no way. It wasn't wind. They were broke at 90 degrees, blocking. And I'm like, okay. I continued, nothing happened. Some weeks later, I went upriver from that location, and I was with a girlfriend at the time, and we were it was middle of the day, and there's like a steep canyon, really steep, and there's really thickly forested, vegetated, actually a lot of trees on this one wall there. It's super steep, like you can't even go up it. And then we have to kind of shimmy across this like ledge while we're holding on to branches to get across this area. It's kind of a sketchy place, and we're like, okay, we can do this, let's do it. And just as we're about to get to this spot to go shimmy across, right up above us in this thickly forested area, too thick to see, by the way, it was thick, and it's just, we heard like whack whack crack. So odd, because your just brain is like, what is that? How could that sound? It was like an instant branch break, but it was a big branch. And then there's the whacking sounds, and it's coming right next to you, and your hair raises, and you're like, oh my gosh. And about that time, I started to look at BFRO database, thinking, what could this be? And nearby was Colfax, and they had recent Class A sightings. They saw Bigfoot in open areas on some public trails. Very obviously Bigfoot. I think they're pretty credible reports, and the researcher deemed them to be as well. So that area was starting to get squatchy. It would be some years later that encounters would increase, some canyons to the south, and things just continued to build. I started to get that kind of itch, like something's going on. I want to go scratch this itch. And so this girlfriend and I were like, let's go prospecting and looking for Bigfoot in Oregon. What better place to look for Bigfoot? And so we go to Oregon, and this is when I have my first really encounter where I can't shrug it off, and I say, this is Bigfoot. And we go, we're in Southern Oregon, I think Jackson or Josephine County, I forget which one. It's like west of Cave Junction. You go west of Cave Junction, there's nothing west of Cave Junction. Like, it's just, it's vast all the way to the coast, wilderness, remote. And so I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew there was this gold area, and I had some land I had access to that was super rugged. And I'm sitting there, going on this back roads, like just super
Nice.
potholes and boulders, and the cars like hanging on the boulder. It was so ghetto getting there. I had no idea where I was going. It was like a labyrinth too, taking all these cuts. I'm like, and then all of a sudden we get to this open area next to a creek, and there's a big mountain on one side and forested area around us on the other side. And it's like, all right, you know what? Let's just stop here for the day. I'll go metal detecting, panning. We'll make a ruckus, and we'll camp here for the night. So made a ruckus, metal detected up on the mountain. I did flip-flop clacks, to emulate like a rock clack or a wood knock. And so that, was just trying to just stir stuff up. And I stirred so much too. And then at the end of the day, as the sun was setting, we had a breeze blowing through the whole canyon from our tent. So we were upwind. So our smell was drifting through the canyon. And then I had a fire. And this fire you could see from, I mean, there's this huge mountain that looked perfect for Bigfoot to live in. It's so vast, full of ecosystems and water and moisture. And I'm just like, gosh, if I were Bigfoot, I'd be up there, and I'd be able to see us too. And so we have this fire. It was the girlfriend's time of month, and those scents can activate pheromone engagement and strong reactions from a variety of animal species, not just primates, but a whole variety of animals. I mean, you've seen dogs, how they react with women sniffing their crotches and stuff. So another factor right there, made a ruckus, had a fire, woman time of the month. And just to seal the deal, as I'm like, all right, let's put out the fire, there was a big piece of iron in the fire pit. I didn't see it. And somehow I was swinging something like a pry bar and I hit it. It's the loudest sound of all time. It was just like wow, 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 through the whole valley. I'm like, oh my gosh, people could hear that for like 10 miles. That was insane. I'm just like, oh, that was the icing on the cake. If there wasn't going to be a Bigfoot tonight, now there will be. And so we're in the tent, and it's, just a really gentle breeze, really peaceful. And I'm kind of on edge because I knew I just really kind of caused a lot of commotion in an area that had historic Bigfoot encounters. Like even on the BFRO database in this area, there's reports from the 1800s of there's like I think they're trappers or they're hunters, and a large, hairy man comes up to this father and son, and they give it some deer meat, I think, and it wanders off. And so that was a pretty good story,
Oh, wow.
Area with Bigfoot, and that's a very Bigfoot-like thing that has happened before. Bigfoot coming up to people. I've heard stories of like where it comes up to guys, they're cooking sausage, and and it wants a sausage, So the area had the reports, and I was nervous. I was laying down, and I'm like, okay, I might not sleep, and I'm just laying there. 10-15 minutes go by. I start to slowly calm down. Like I'm laying on my back, which is important. I'm laying on my back, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll try to sleep. I had a GoPro on my head because I knew I wanted to be ready, and I had it in one button mode, so I'd click it, and it automatically turns on right away. So it'd be the fastest way for me to get video rolling. I'm laying on my back, and then I started to hear something, and it was really scary because it sounded like you could hear twigs cracking and coming closer to you because there's a whole bunch of leaf litter in the area behind us. But it was like something rolling its feet or stepping really slowly and breaking a bunch of stuff, but real slow, like. And I'm just like, no, it's my imagination. It's birds, something walking in there. It's a deer. They make tons of noise. But it was just like, gosh, it really sounds like something. And then it stopped. And I'm like, it's nothing. And then I heard it again. Then it stopped. And I'm like, yeah, just my imagination. And then boom, 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 boom.
Oh, no.
Feel it just through my body, just, and I could feel the power, and it was nearby, but it was so powerful that it shook the earth. And I could feel it, the tremor through the earth of it stomping. And I'm just like, and it was I couldn't believe it. Like, and I just hit the button on my head, turn on the camera, and I immediately start to cry. And I just tell my girlfriend, I'm just like, Bigfoot, he's here. And I just knew I had to get a handle on the situation right away, or it was going to get bad quickly. I had to get out of that tent, or else it could be our coffin. And so I just unzipped the tent right away with the light, and I just start shining in the woods. I haven't even analyzed this video, honestly. I think there must be some trauma associated with this experience. I'm finally ready to edit it because someone said they thought they saw Bigfoot on my video, but I'm scanning the tree line, and I'm scanning where I saw it, and it may be 30, 40 feet away. There's so many trees. And the scariest thing is to know that there's what you just heard, this giant Bigfoot is behind one of these trees, but you can't see it. It's just sitting there like a gigantic ninja sitting there, and you're just like, oh my gosh, which tree? Is it behind us, behind that big tree? Is it over there? And it's just like so unnerving. And then
Wow.
my girlfriend just goes, I don't want to be here anymore. And I'm like, well, if the Bigfoot's not going to show himself, I tried to get him to show himself, but I didn't keep trying. I was really scared. And we started to pack up. I put my camera down so it filmed us and the light shining into the woods while we were packing, so I might catch something. And it took us 2 hours to set up, like 5 minutes to take down. Left tons of stuff there. We were so scared. Hightailed it out of there and just hitting potholes all the way out. And I was so scared that that thing was going to jump in front of us, pull us out of the window. But yeah, that was. I mean, there's nothing else that could have been than a Bigfoot. Like,
Yeah.
I'd like to have someone have a more logical explanation than that. Like, seriously. Oh, there's hydraulic equipment in the forest on a hillside, and it does this bipedal thing, and it's like, come on, it's a Bigfoot area. It was a Bigfoot. And like, that wasn't the hairiest encounter I had. I went back to the area where I had some of those other funny things happen, where I first started prospecting out in mostly Placer County, California. And I was going to this other, I was going to the American rivers, different forks of the Americans, and I was prospecting all the time. And these friends that gave me a bad time after I came back from the road trip, my prospector friends, I was like, ah, man, Bigfoot, he's out here. There's reports over here and over here. I had these things. And they're like, ah, it's not real. It's not real. And I'm really happy this happened to them, because it was, I said, just call me when you see one, because there's a good chance you will. And I can't believe it. They saw one. It walked right in front of them on this place we went all the time.
No way.
Yeah, this really brutal hike we would take deep into this canyon and deep out. They were going out one day, and it was less than 6 months after I told them that, and they gave me a hard time. And it's the best I told you so. I didn't say that. I didn't need to.
You're so much like me. That's what I tell people too. Like, let me know when you see one.
That happened with an Oregon person who grew up in Oregon too, an Oregon prospector. I was like, just call me. Guess what? That guy called me 6 months later too. And they both had incredible encounters. I'm so jealous. My two prospector buddies, they were hiking back, and this thing comes up impossibly steep hillside, like literally this freaking steep. And it's like a half a mile down that way. And then it goes like that. And then it's like this manzanita. Super thick, man. We even tried to go through it. You can't even get through like a foot without bleeding to death. Like, you can't even make it. I mean, come on. We know manzanita. It's horrible. It's the most impossibly impenetrable thing I've ever seen in my life. You can't even break that stuff. I don't even know how you do it. But the Bigfoot walked right through it, just right up the hillside, right in front of them, a couple 100 feet. They said he was like 9 feet tall, covered in hair, brown, typical description, like one stride and a half and is already in the manzanita, and then just disappears in the manzanita like it's nothing. I'm just like, oh, I'm really happy that happened to them, because it really is so beneficial to have this experience, to realize what else in this world could be true, that we have this belief system that is, oh, Bigfoot's not real. What if it is? What if everything you ever heard was real? How would that change your world?
When you say manzanita, is that the place, or is that like a
okay? So manzanita is like a bush that grows, and it has this really thick wood. It's super thick, and it grows. You can't break it with your hand. Even like a small branch of it is super hard to break, and it's got this jagged like it's just daggers everywhere. It's so sharp. You just can't even get through it. It's Bigfoot can go through the impossible like nothing. How to get up that impossibly steep hillside? They're designed for it. They're well built for it. This is what they do. That's why they have giant glutes like Patty over there, like giant glutes to power that machine to go straight up hillsides. Their heels are designed differently. That information in this book right here, Meldrum gets into the science of that, the anatomy of them. Their anatomy enables them to be expert mountaineers, where they can walk in different ways, hike in different ways. They move differently, they glide,
And I'm gonna ask, did your like the kind of the typical questions with your friend sighting, like did they have a chance to get like pictures? Did they say what they looked like? What how did they seem afterwards? Like your interpretation of your friends, like how was their demeanor change after that sighting?
Oh, they're so scared. They're so scared to go back to that place. They didn't even like talking about the experience.
Really?
You could tell that there was some serious emotion there, and they knew that they saw something, and they kind of knew it was pretty much a Bigfoot. They just couldn't believe that, wow, Bigfoot is probably real. Like, we just saw something 9 feet tall, covered in hair, walked in front of us, and it fits all the descriptions of Bigfoot. So, really beneficial for those people.
Are you able to say what like state that was in?
Yeah, that was California. That was in one of the American rivers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one of the American River canyons. You have North Fork, Middle Fork, South Fork. You have branches of the North Fork, and there's a lot of forks. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Bigfoot encounters all throughout the places I go every year.
And then there's a quick question. We'll just ask them as we go along. Eric, what is from Wendell Bigfoot 911? Eric, what is the biggest nugget that you have found? I'm kind of interested too. I kind of want to know.
That's a good question. Yeah, I got a quarter ouncer one time. Yeah, it's mostly just like pockets of gold I've been working on, because I've been mostly like prospecting and small scale mining. It hasn't been metal detecting. If I just stuck with metal detecting, I'd probably have a lot more nuggets. I'll show you some nuggets I have right now.
Nice.
I break it up by so you can at least, I break it up by area. Like, even one creek, I could break it up in 2-3 different vials, so I can look at the gold and learn. But so here's some of the gold from just one area of one creek.
Oh, wow.
Like some beautiful pieces.
That's awesome.
It's nice stuff. I mean, it's just fun to look at, fun to play with. It's so, when I tell you that I found great gold, like this is nothing. I'll throw this in the trash compared to what I found and I had to run away from. And that's really what's so incredible, is that I know a place to go and I could mine, but I don't want to go there because the Bigfoot kicked me out, and it was terrifying. And I still I have nightmares about it. I want to go back, though. I need to go back, but this time I'm going to go back armed with casting equipment, cameras. I'm going there for the Bigfoot this time because, yeah, the gold is great, but you know what? I found great gold in other places too. I actually ended up finding a ton of gold after this somewhere else, but I didn't even go back in the woods for a while. So I was with my then girlfriend, and there's this place I had scouted a couple years past, and it was super hard to find. And I accidentally stumbled upon it with a friend, and it was inside. I don't want to give away too many details because it's really easy to figure out where people are. It's a real small world with prospecting, but I don't really care that much anymore, honestly. But needless to say, it was in a deep canyon area, super, super thick, no cities for probably at least 50 miles in all directions. Very remote part of California, Northern California. And we find this old tunnel, they dug into the hillside. It was basically, it wasn't a mine shaft, it was a sluice. They had a sluice box in there. So it was a whole former mining. It was super ideal though, because there's all bedrock everywhere. So if the gold splashes around in the sluice box, then the gold gets in the walls and on the is really shallow material. So I prospected there and I found amazing gold. It was just like thousands and thousands of pieces of gold in one pan. It's like, wow. It was hard to find though. Like, even digging inside a sluice box like cavern, it went in there hundreds and hundreds of feet. So I prepared to come back there and mine it. It took me 2 years to get back there almost, because I needed a specialty piece of equipment to get custom made. I was ready to go back.
Speaking of the equipment, a quick question. Wendell asked again, do you use a drag or high banker? And he also wants to know if you're part of a prospector group.
Yeah, honestly, I used to go to the prospecting. I used to be part of clubs, and I have found. I'll show you some good gold I found from prospecting club. You can find good gold at prospecting clubs, and I do recommend them. You have GPAA, you have LDMA. So
Oh, wow.
this is just from one area of one club. So there's plenty of gold to be got at the prospecting clubs.
I find all
Um,
this like really fascinating. My dad, rest in peace, was like really into gold mining, and he wasn't really around like our whole life, but I remember seeing like pictures of him with like the gold, like the gold detectors and stuff out in the river. So your story means
oh
so
yeah,
much to me. I find it so exciting and so fascinating.
good, good.
You're
Yeah, I
very
mean gold. Yeah, thanks. Gold is cool. I mean,
Mike
finding
says,
it is
I'll go with
fun.
you.
Yeah, here's my first nugget I found here. So, when I show you this gold, at least it tells you like
That's
what I'm
cool.
talking about. Like, I found gold. I know how to find gold. I've been doing it for a while. So when I tell you that I found spectacular gold, I mean it. Like I've seen good gold, great gold. And I've done dredging and high banking. And in this situation, I've done it all. From panning, dry washing, small high bankers, big high bankers, small dredges, big dredges, and I'm like backlogged so many years in content. I have a channel that I'm not even working on. I haven't touched it in like 6 years, but I'm probably just going to post all that stuff on Adventure Person now, including this encounter. But I had a custom built high banker dredge. It was actually a mini high banker, and it had a 2.5 inch dredge built into the hopper box, and it used a Honda little 2.5 horsepower pump. But you need to get this thing custom made, and it was Sam Baldwin out of Grass Valley. If you want that, he was backlogged so long, and so I had this thing. I had it on my back. I was ready to go. But before I went back to this mine that I spent 2 years to find, and get the gold and to get the equipment and come back, I was finally ready. And I'm like, okay, before I bring the equipment, because it's pretty heavy equipment and it's like kind of hard to get to this spot. I'm like, let me just make sure I see the gold again. Just remind myself that it's as good as I remember it is. So I take a pan and we're like, all right, let's just go in there, find the spot, find the gold, and then we'll bring the equipment and we'll stay here the night. Mine all night day today, mine all day tomorrow. Oh, it's gonna be epic. And so I'm there, and it's this girl who actually doesn't go in the outdoors at all. She's from another country. She had no idea what Bigfoot was. I mean, her country, they actually have a Brazilian Bigfoot, but they call it something else. And it looks the exact same in this pamphlet they have for Project Blue Book. But the thing is, they refer to it straight up as what do they call it? Something beta. It's like this beta alien species. So they refer to it straight up. This is an alien, an interdimensional alien, and like it's in a pamphlet full of aliens. So that's a side note. But she wasn't really aware of this Bigfoot thing, so she went into this whole thing kind of blind. And so we go deep. We're going into this dark tunnel, and I'm going back there, sloshing through the mud, and I start doing pans. I can't find the gold pans, can't find the gold, and then boom, I find the gold, and it just so bright and so many speckles. I'm like, all right, thousands of pieces. This could be ridiculous. I mean, so much gold, like, and so we're like, all right, let's go back to the car, get the equipment. We have a lot of time to mine. It's probably mid late afternoon. It's like an hour before sunset because sun started to set really quickly. And so we leave the mine, and that's when it happened. We left, and there's a hill, and we have to hike to the top of the hill. And we're going up the hill, and just as we're at the crest of the hill, all of a sudden I hear, and it was just like, had the deep guttural, really intense, strong projection, very loud, 150, 200, several hundred. This thing was far away, and it was still, I mean, it wasn't that far. It was maybe a couple 100 feet behind me, but this thing was like a PA blasting at me, but it was, So when I was in Costa Rica as a kid, I was around these howler monkeys. It sounded just like a howler monkey to me at the end of it, this raspy part. Actually, the whole thing sounded like a howler monkey, just with more bass at the beginning. If you listen to howler monkey videos, just and they have this kind of raspy sound. And it was just so odd because I'm like, the moment I heard it, it was just my hair went up, and me and this girl, we look at each other and we just like, that was odd. And I'm like, that sounded oddly like a primate, but very loud and Bigfooty and unique. Like, I've heard Bigfoot recordings, but none like that. That was like a super howler monkey. Like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, okay. We walk and we're quiet. And then we hear it again. Row! Row! And we're like, okay. And the more I hear it, the more I can't shake off the fact that this has to be a Bigfoot. And I'm just so scared because I mean, this thing is screaming in our direction, like straight at us. And the timing of it was perfect as we're cresting over the hill. And so we're walking back to the car. The car's not far away. We just walk into the car, and there's this open area around the car. And then we don't hear anything. I'm like, okay. I'm like, before we make any decisions, let's stop, drink some water, eat a sandwich. I'm going to stretch out. Sun was actually beginning to set. And I'm just like, okay, we need to make some decisions here. That was an odd sound. And it's like, should we continue? And I'm just sitting there thinking like, and I just try to convince myself it's not a Bigfoot. And then I'm like, you know what? It's a dog. It's a dog. Someone's dog got loose. I'm sure there's some pot farmers around here. Their dog got loose. It's a dog. And then I'm like, just to prove that I'm not scared, I'm going to stand on this giant log and I'm going to sing into the canyon, which turned out to be a terrible idea. So I stand on this log and I aim in my face, and there's these converging creeks, bedrock canyons, which reverberate sound really well. I was in the perfect place and I didn't even realize it. Just like my first encounter, I accidentally created way too loud of a sound in ruckus. Like when I hit the wah, 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 and the first time I did the same thing I started singing, and my voice was like PA systems in all directions, just going through the canyon. I was like, wow, this is cool. And just as I start singing, it just erupts everywhere. The force just goes, I'm just like, it just got nuts. I just stopped. I just froze. And it's just, and then they're moving. I can hear this. I can just see it in my mind. There's an individual here. He's down below. There's two creeks. There's one here, one here. Now I hear, but now at the same time, I'm hearing another one over here. All of a sudden, it's off to our side, and this one's just really close to us. Like just dropped down like 50 feet and down into this creek. And I hear one there. I'm like, oh my gosh, they are like literally they're moving. They're closing in on us. This one's going this way. This one's going this way. And then all of a sudden, I hear like branches cracking behind us. And that's a thick forest behind the car. I can't see a thing in there. I'm like, we're literally getting surrounded by Bigfoot. And they're all screaming, this is insane. And my head is spinning, and this girl is tripping. She's just like, wait, like, she's just so scared looking at me. She has no idea what's going on. Like, what could this be? And I told her about Bigfoot, but it was like, oh, yeah, Bigfoot, like, it's like, oh, you and your fairy tales. But here we are, and the sun is setting, and we need to make decisions. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's no way we're mining. Like that's out of that's off the table now. Like they're not gonna let us mine. And then I'm thinking, well, can we spend the night? I'm like, well, we're not gonna sleep. God knows what they'll do to the car, tip it over, rip us out. What if has to go to the bathroom? Like, and then all of a sudden I started to think about the kids at the Ural Mountains, and I'm like, you know what? Like, if we don't go, we might get killed like those kids. Like they're literally telling us this is, I've read like probably 1,000 reports, and I've never heard of them doing this. I mean, this is very rare, very, very rare behavior. And so I knew this was really significant and we need to go. But I think maybe at that time or slightly before, I had this idea in my head. I'm like, this is an opportunity to catch it off guard and get a photo, because there's this trail that cuts down to the creek to the side of me. And I'm like, I can run on the tips of my toes like a ninja in the woods. I can be real quiet if I want. So I'm like, I'm going to catch it off guard while they're screaming. I'm going to jump out with my camera ready. And I'm running down this path. And I'm like about halfway down this path, about 50 feet from the car. And now I can't see the car. There's brush around. And I realized my girlfriend's not with me. And she's like, maybe like she's I don't know, stumbling behind me or still at the car. And I'm just like, she's going to get grabbed. And I didn't even make it to the creek. I could, this Bigfoot was so close. Could have just been 30 feet away. It's just, I need to go a little past this path, just a little bit. And I was boom, right at the creek where I heard this sound. But I'm just like, I knew this girl's at the car. She wasn't a runner. She wasn't in the woods. This was totally not her element. And I'm like, I can't leave her. Like, this is horrible. I just ran straight back to the car. And there she was. I'm like, thank God. And so I was just going through all these branches and going around turns. I was so afraid they're coming and grab us out of the car, which has also happened to people. And maybe you've heard those stories where they reach into cars.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you're saying. I've heard like out there on, yeah, like Bigfoot, Michigan. Rob, he had a pretty bad encounter, and he's like, yeah, it wasn't like the friendly guys that people think it is. It was pretty traumatizing. You should hear his story sometime, and then maybe even meet him sometime. I think you guys would have a lot to share, actually. Bigfoot Society's got some stories about hunters being found under trees. He's got some episodes like, like ripped apart, and then the reports sometimes never really reflect what probably happened. It just doesn't really add up. They just say unknown animal. So, and then in my area too, I think you were talking about this earlier, the bear that they found up here ripped in half with its head ripped off. And this is somebody I know. Yeah, they won't go back up in that area. That was, yeah. And it was like freshly bleeding too. So they saw something watching them. So yeah, I mean, the more you hear, the more, there's some that you probably don't want to go out there and get tangled up with.
I mean, it's actually, it's the luck of the draw. Some of them are psychopaths. Sometimes you're in the wrong place. Maybe they don't want you to see what you just saw. Maybe they don't want you to know where they live. They're coming out of a cave and you're like, oh, hey, Bigfoot. Hey. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, where I live? Like, it doesn't take much intelligence to know, like, they know where I live. They know they're trying to protect themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Way more intelligent than most people realize. They have language. If they have language, they pretty much have culture. Like,
right.
They're people. They're wild people in the woods. And they can do whatever they want.
I have a question for you, and I'm kind of curious if anyone's actually ever asked you this. This is a thought that I've had for a while, and I've kind of made some animations about this, and I'll have to share this with you later. And I had another story that was kind of similar with the gold stuff. Do you think that they know what gold is and that they're protecting it?
I've heard theories like that. I personally haven't seen enough links to the two to say anything. I just know that the good gold is in the remote areas, and the remote areas have Bigfoot. So when you want to get the good gold, you go to those difficult to get to places, and voila, you're going to have those encounters. They're just going to come find you. You don't need to look for them. You're very approachable as a gold prospector. Usually you're hunched over, not looking around, you're like sitting in one place, and they're like, they can slowly creep up and watch you. And the place I went to on, I think it was Josephine Creek, where I had my first encounter in Oregon, those guys, the reason I went there was because a week before I saw a video of some gold miners. They were dredging, and they so casually said, oh yeah, we're sitting there dredging and getting about a quarter ounce a day, and look up on the ridge, and yeah, seeing Bigfoot there looking at us. And he come by every day and says hi, and so it's cool seeing the Bigfoot, but gold pretty good, and yeah, dredge working well. I'm like, so just works in that Bigfoot just watching him casually during the day, like all the time. I'm like, wow, like I think that's probably real considering the location. And I got to go there, fresh report. And I know the area's got the gold. So that's why I went there. But it just goes to show you, like, these people aren't going and reporting this stuff. Like,
I know.
I'll tell you, all the stories I'll tell you. The thing is, I don't need to look for Bigfoot. I will go on Bigfoot only expeditions. But moving forward, I know I'm going to see a Bigfoot. I know it's going to happen 100% because the places I'm going to be going in the future, metal detecting, are just ripe with Bigfoot. And I'm sitting there with my head down, moving slowly. So it's super likely that they'll come up in that situation, especially if I'm alone. So I will be doing Bigfoot. I never got that Class A that I wanted. I was so close 2 times. If I just stayed there, especially the first time, because the encounter wasn't necessarily aggressive, he was just letting me know I'm here. So if I really wanted to stay there and play around, play some guitar or something, try to get it to play with us, like I wish I did that more. I had a great opportunity I missed, but is what I was saying is I wanted the encounter, but I wasn't ready for how scared I was going to be when I had the encounter. I was terrified because I realized it's real. Bigfoot's real. He's huge. He's stomping. I can feel it. And it's nighttime and there's shadows and trees everywhere and it's thick forested Oregon, and Bigfoot's real and you go out there, you're going to find him. I feel like I'd rather have the experience than the photo because the photo's hard to get. I think I could, even if you have a GoPro rolling and you get it on a GoPro, unless it's really close up, it's going to be not that good. You're going to have to zoom in on a shaky video and it's going to be like every other Bigfoot video. And that's why I never bothered even posting my videos, the more recent ones, because I have footage of all that. I didn't even post it yet because, I'm trying to protect the location. And then that was just one of the many reasons. But you know what? It's I'm going to go back out there. I just know my adventures with Bigfoot have only just begun. In fact, out here in the desert, I was talking to this girl. I live in Nevada now. And I live a few miles east of Lake Tahoe. I know someone who came across a Bigfoot on the rim of Lake Tahoe, somewhere around Lake Tahoe, by the way. And they didn't want to give the location away because they want to protect Bigfoot. Another thing you hear with people who report Bigfoot, because you want to protect. They don't need the protection, but we know the government comes after them, and we got to be like, all right, let's keep these guys safe. They've, for the most part, I think they're pretty benevolent. They have boundaries, and you just respect the Bigfoot boundaries. If they tell you not to go somewhere, don't go. If they tell you to leave, leave. If they're not aggressive, enjoy the encounter. You're lucky, So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to look for Bigfoot. I was out today on a hike, going on a mountain of one of two possible locations where a girl, I believe, had a Bigfoot encounter here in the desert. She was a 16-year-old girl, worked a grocery outlet. I met her a couple of years ago, and she was hanging out with some friends after high school, and it was dark. And they're at this local cemetery here in Nevada, and this small town. And there's mountains behind it, all directions, deep mines that go for miles. And she told me this encounter she had. And at first I thought it was a ghost encounter because she's at a cemetery. But then I started asking questions, I'm so fascinated with everything paranormal. And when I realized, okay, it was very tall, it chased her, I said, did you hear the weight of it? Did you hear the weight? And she says, yes. And that's when I said it was a Bigfoot. This is a Bigfoot. Like a shadow figure, you're not going to hear it go boom, boom, boom. But it's like, okay, everything she described, sounds like it's a Bigfoot. And it's scaring him out of the area. So I'm on the trail for a Bigfoot out here, which I believe is either living somewhere in the mines or in the caves or just floating around in the sky as an orb or who knows what,
And I have another question for you too. So you mentioned a couple of times where you kind of had, you basically did have physical kind of interaction with it, stomping on the ground. And I think I was listening on the Bigfoot Society where you said you were actually laying in the dirt. So you felt the vibration come up into your body. And then there was the other incident where they were yelling and you kind of like felt it. Did anything happen to you physically like the next day where like any like infrasound? I'm sure you've heard of infrasound that would have happened to you physically?
No, but you know what? No, I didn't have anything like that. But one thing that is odd that started to happen before that trip where they were screaming at me, I started to do, because there was a lot of danger associated with my trips, a lot of risk. Like my life was on the line. Some of the things I was doing were really risky. And so I would do this kind of psychic clairvoyant exercise where I would mentally project different outcomes of what could happen. I get injured, I get killed, he gets injured, something breaks, we don't find gold, all these different outcomes I have in front of me visually. And then I hover my mind's eye over these thoughts. And if I feel this friction, something's there. So I hovered around, no gold, nothing there. I'm like, I felt this weird sensation before this trip. And then I was like, okay, this unexplained. I'm not getting injured, but something's going to happen. I just can't put my finger on it. But so I had this sensation, and I've just learned to trust that sensation ever since then. Actually, with paranormal stuff, it's proven me right. And I actually said on the video when I was driving to the location when the branches were going over the car, I'm like, oh gosh, this is Bigfoot territory here. Oh no. Like my heart kind of sank a little bit because I was like, oh, like the chances of having a Bigfoot encounter are going up, 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 up. Like the thicker the forest is, I'm like, oh man.
Can you tell us about any paranormal things that have happened with you out there?
Yeah,
Have you had
actually,
any?
yeah, I'll start off by just quickly finishing that story because some
Okay.
would say this was maybe paranormal, and I've heard of things happening like this with Bigfoot, with losses of time or portals, things like that. I was driving, escaping from that scene, and I was afraid that they're going to grab her, like so many Bigfoot have grabbed women while they're in their cars, or people. And so we're driving, and I'm driving. I drove for an hour in the woods to get away from this spot. And then I stopped to check where we are. And I looked to my right, and we're exactly where we were 1 hour ago, the
No
exact
way.
same place. And it
No
just
way.
blew my mind because I was
What?
looking at the GPS, and I went all through the mountains, and I was like, for sure we're getting out of here. And boom, it
Whoa.
was like this nightmare because I'm like, just seeing like the Bigfoot are there making sure we leave. They saw the light leave, I'm just picturing myself as one of them. Like they see the light go through the mountains, and then boom, here it comes back. And they see it slowly come back, so they have time to react. So I'm like, they're waiting for us. They're right here. We're screwed. Oh my gosh, it was so scary. And then that time I was like, oh my gosh, this is just this nightmare. Like I have no idea how that's happened. It's never happened in my life. I've driven in deep, dark, thick woods with no GPS. Never had that happen. Drove for an hour, and I ended up exactly where I left, right next to where the Bigfoot chased us off. I don't even know how it happened. Can't explain it. We did get out though, but a lot of paranormal stuff in the woods, tons of stuff. Nothing that I could say where I could, link Bigfoot to it. But my prospector friends, I'll quickly say this other guy, around the time of my two friends saying, "Oh, Bigfoot's not real," this other prospector friend from Southern Oregon, he grew up there, and he was like, I was talking to him, and I bring up Bigfoot. I love talking about Bigfoot prospectors because I'll tell you this: 100% of the prospectors I know who have been doing it for 10 years and go to the like deep woods locations have had Bigfoot encounters. 100%. 10
100%.
years.
Wow.
100%. 10 years plus the right locations. Like they're not some old man who goes on the side of the road and just shovels into a sluice. I'm talking people who are in good shape and they're going to decent locations. Like, and they don't have to go that deep in the woods, but 10 years going into the woods, the places where the gold is, if you're getting decent gold, like gold miners or small scale gold miners, like one guy, two guys deep in the woods, full of reports. And like just so many, just like Albert Ostman, which I believe potentially the best story of all time with Bigfoot. Personally, the guy who was abducted in 1926, prospector right out of his sleeping bag, just they threw him right over his shoulder and just just wandered off and walked miles up and down mountains and described the whole thing. I've had multiple paranormal encounters now. Not so many, some in the gold field, mostly in Greenland. Greenland was insanely paranormal. Everyone there was straight up attacked by demons. That place out of control. We were in a Viking graveyard, and we were mining for gold and prospecting for gold, but there was bones, shallow graves, and terrifying creatures and all sorts of entities. I feel like I'm pretty hard-headed. I'm not that sensitive, but after all this stuff, feel like I'm actually pretty sensitive now because something shoved my bed one night. People were hearing tongues and stuff. Like people had things jump at them, attack them, like seeing figures come and lock doors, locking them in rooms. It was like really intense. But those woods, I have prospector friends who have had alien encounters in the woods where like one guy on the Bear River, he saw this, what sounded like a gray alien kind of walking next to him. He saw the ship too. The ship comes and just tractor beam, and then boom, here's a gray alien walking alongside of him. Another prospector I know, oh yeah, this guy had a I call it the trifecta, where you have the spirit world encounter, the Bigfoot, and the alien, which the alien is probably the hardest encounter to get. He grew up in a haunted house, and he went to a location on the American rivers the same time I was prospecting. I was talking to all the prospectors, and this guy he had just found a 10-gram nugget with his friend. And then he says a Bigfoot starts screaming at him from up on top of a hillside and starts throwing trees down at them. And they left. And it was right after they found the nugget, which would support your theory. They're trying to get you off the gold, right? It's like they almost know, like, oh, he found the gold, got to get him out of there. So throws the tree down at them. And they left. They didn't go back. They even told me exactly where it is. And no prospector would do that. And it's because they're so scared. This thing told them, like, you come back, I'm going to hit you with the tree. Like, because it was intentionally missing them, you know? Like, the tree was like 6 inches above their head, but it was giant trees. So the American rivers are full of encounters. Downeyville, I started going there a couple of years ago, and super recent Bigfoot encounters all through the Downeyville region. And if you look at that area, really good place for full-time berries, mushrooms, grubs. You have plenty of bear, deer, small game. You have a whole year-round ecosystem to thrive on there as a Bigfoot. And I know some people who are living out there year-round, and they were bugging one of my friends who was living there. And they said, man, has Bigfoot been bugging you? Like, he comes by at night, like every night. Like, and then I looked at where they were sleeping, and it was like a highway in the mountains where it's like a ravine that cuts through the mountains. So it's like an easy way for the Bigfoot to cut through multiple mountain systems. And I'm like, oh, that's why they're having so many Bigfoot. But, you know, if you want to go out there and get the gold and the good gold, I mean, it's only a matter of time. You're going to have a Bigfoot, a bear, a mountain lion. You might have some ghost encounters.
What about Wendell Bigfoot? Had another question. Have you seen a dogman out there?
No, the whole dogman thing is really fascinating. I used to think that those are all Bigfoot encounters mistakenly, but there's just too many of them. They go too far back, and it has to be real. It's just like Bigfoot, you know? See, Bigfoot to me is very bubblegum. It's so bubblegum that I'm not even that interested. Like, it's super cool. Don't get me wrong, but I know it's real. And I know I need to see it, and I need to have that encounter. And I know I will, but it's just like, there's way crazier stuff in those woods. Like, imagine getting abducted by aliens and taken on an alien spaceship. Or like, I have a friend who saw a tall white alien, another friend who saw one of the 6-foot grays, and like really close encounters. And these people, this actually happened. Multiple people were there. And so there's so many things. I know people have come across ghosts, orbs floating around in the forest. I mean, there's dogmen, you know, like shapeshifters. Like, God, you just don't know what you're gonna. It's like, that's what's cool about Bigfoot, is it just kind of turns your world upside down. Once you realize Bigfoot's real, what else could be real?
What do you think like Bigfoot is as far as like human, primate, paranormal? Like, what are your feelings today?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you look at this book, Jeff Meldrum does a really good job of explaining the similarities anatomically, physiologically between different species of primates. And so, but then people who have seen the Bigfoot say it just looks too crazy. It looks too different. I think, I mean, I do believe it's flesh and blood. You can kill them. For me, the real question is whether it's interdimensional. What exactly it is? It's a great ape. You know, it's really crazy because the real crazy thing about Bigfoot is they have some abilities that no land animal has. For example, you've probably heard the reports of them with their glowing red eyes, right?
Hmm.
So I've heard people say that their eyes can glow so bright on demand, like it's like spotlights. People thought that they had red spotlights on, like someone had their truck lights on and they had some red lights on there. That's how bright their eyes can glow. And so I'm a scuba diver too. And in the ocean, I've swam at night and I've had these bioluminescent creatures where they can change their colors, and they can glow any different neon colors. But I don't believe there's any animal that we know of, especially a mammal, that could do that on land. I don't think there's any land animal that has bioluminescence. The eyes, that's kind of a very strange adaptation. So those adaptations really make you wonder, why would they have that? It's just, it really makes you scratch your head. But I'm like, okay, I can accept that. Bigfoot is flesh and blood. He's here. But then this whole thing with like Bigfoot interdimensional, I was like, nah, that can't be real. Wait a second. Like, there's actually some books on this there's really compelling evidence that point to the fact that Bigfoot actually has supernatural abilities where he can. Because I saw this one video that really, and wasn't aware of any of this orb stuff. It was someone had a footage, it was a camera on the outside of their house, security cam footage, and it was the middle of the day, and you see an orb coming really bright into the wood line, probably 100 feet from the house, and it goes behind a tree and disappears, and then boom, you see a giant figure of a Bigfoot just appear when the orb disappears behind the tree, and it just appears instantly and starts shaking the tree. I'm like, it's clear as day right there. And this video is from 15 years ago, before AI, before you could just, snap your fingers and create that. And I was like, and this guy had a whole lexicon of other footage to back that up. So, I think that there's something going on there. That's the real question to me is like, can they come in and out of our dimension at will? Do they have this ability to just phase shift? Oh, I'm just gonna.
Well, yeah, and I used to lean in more to them being probably more ape-like, but every single podcast I've listened to, and I'm kind of curious to see where you came to your conclusion. Every person that see them goes, they had a face like a human. It was human, and they're so confused because they have a body built like you're saying like an ape, but they're like a type of human, and that's kind of, I'm just letting you know because everyone in chat's like, oh no, they're human, and so I feel like that's the big question that everyone's at. Why do you think that they'd be more ape? Like, have your friends seen their faces, or what do you think about that?
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I see them as human, just wild people. That's it. I see them as wild people who live in the woods. They have language, they have culture. People have seen them with traps in the water in Lake Shasta. They have the ability to, like, they have conversations. I mean, only we have that. That's the only differentiator between us as Homo sapiens sapiens and the next great apes is our ability to communicate with language. They have that. They have a whole vocabulary. So what does that make? All the Native Americans referred to them as basically a brother.
Yes, brother of the forest.
Yeah, and all of them said that too. They all said, and a few would see them a little differently, but more or less, it's like they're just like us. They live in the woods.
Have you or anyone, like any of your friends, like heard their language?
No, and I don't know of anyone. The Oregon guy, I think I jumped, but the Oregon guy did see their face. The other people were too far away. But
What'd
this
he say?
Oregon, so he called me. He called me 6 months after. I said, just give me a call when you see one, because I knew he was going to deep woods places, and he was in Southern Oregon. So his chances are going up way, 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 way higher than me, I believe. So I got that call, and he's like, dude, I just saw Bigfoot, bro. Walked right in front of my car. He's like, I just couldn't even react. He just walked right in the middle of the day, perfect encounter. What he said, he saw it for about 12 seconds almost. Walked right in front of him, moved some branches around and disappeared into the woods. and he just couldn't believe it. And I was just like, oh man, I'm so lucky for you, you know? If you're driving in Oregon, like you're always squatching. Like Southern Oregon, you're on the road, you're squatching. Like just be aware, like they could just come out anytime. Like just you know.
Gary says here in the chat, I know you were having trouble seeing the chat earlier, but he goes, Jojo, my clan speaks English and 2 Native American languages. That's interesting. So
Interesting.
he's
Yeah.
saying that the ones he's with speak English, actually. That's fascinating.
Yeah, you know, the thing is that we have a history of aliens altering our DNA. Stories of it, at least, whether you believe it or not, there are a lot of stories of them altering our DNA and people seeing their hybrid babies. If you don't believe it, cool. But if you are aware of the vast amount of encounters of people having that happen to them, where they get abducted and then they get inseminated, the aliens remove the baby, and then they go show them the baby. So my point is, I believe that the aliens, they alter our DNA. Why not their DNA? Is this just a petri dish for aliens to experiment with genetics? Very well could be that they messed with this creature. It came from another planet, and they're like, let's put it here, or let's mess with its eyes, or this or that. And you know what? We really don't know. And I
Do you
love
think
the
like
debate.
Yeah, do you think like I've always wondered like what the thing is with people being so obsessed with gold. I've always wondered if it had some kind of like hidden energy to it. If it did, do you think that they would be attracted to it for those same reasons? Because you're kind of talking about aliens and stuff. I always wonder if they have some kind of like connection to like minerals and earth energies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, gold absolutely emits a vibrational energy. You know, it has energy to it. And I mean, you can feel it just by looking at it. You hold it in your hand, and it's just like Frodo in the ring. You know, it's like mine, precious. It sucks you in, and you know there has to be energy to it. I'm sure you can measure it with several devices, and I think I've actually seen things like that. Basically, everything's vibrating at all times. It's vibrating at its own frequency. So the
Yes.
Bigfoot, if they are intra-dimensional, trans-dimensional, they're potentially a high vibration where they can potentially feel vibrations better than us. They might be able to pick up on things, gather energy from them. I don't know. There's certainly a relationship between Bigfoot and certain locations. There's so much mystery to it. The whole orb thing. People are seeing them in the graveyards. I think there's some reports of people seeing them come out of UFOs just casually walking. Let them come to you. Be in an area where they can see you, and then maybe play some drums, play some guitar, sing, and just be peaceful. Just get their interest, get their curiosity. I think that could be a good way to do it. Also, catching them off guard, that could work too. Like electric motorcycle on those like fire roads. Those fire roads are really good for finding Bigfoot. If you want to go through those fire roads at night, like they wind all through the mountains. The problem is you can't turn around easily, and if you're driving and a Bigfoot's in front of you, backing up is going to be tough, and now you're in a bad situation. And I've had that happen in Oregon where I'm like going up, like squatching at night up in the mountain, like on this narrow road. And I'm like, if a Bigfoot came out right now, this would be a horrible situation. Like I can't back up. I'm going to go off a cliff, you know. When I was in Oregon, I had some other encounters too. Flip flops work really good as a rock clack or wood knock emulation sound. And so I would drive a couple miles, I'd stop, and then I'd whack my sandals and I'd wait, whack my sandals and wait. And I did that for like a week. And then we were near Cave Junction one time, middle of the day, and I had the whole forest erupt. Really strange. It was like I whack my sandals and right away I hear crack here, crack over here, and then I hear like some branches getting hit together, and it was like, whoa, like I just felt like it was a cacophony, all these different sounds. I was just like, they can't all be birds, and there's things that didn't sound like birds. So I just held up some apples, waved them around, and put apples on the side of the road, and left. I'm going back to Oregon. I got to go see a Bigfoot. I want to go in a ghillie suit too. That's another good method, I think. Ghillie suit, mask your scent, and just go really slowly and just wait. And just like a hunter, just wait there and hunt with your camera. But the problem with that strategy is if it works too well and they get too close and then you catch them off guard, they come right next to you and then you're like, wait, never mind. I don't, and it's like,
Well, they have the
"Ah!"
they have the Oak Ridge event this summer. I think Jeremiah is hosting it or he's speaking at it. And then Oak Ridge is a pretty popular area of Oregon for sightings. So yeah, check out the Oak Ridge event this summer.
Yeah, I'm kind of not crazy about doing the BFRO stuff just because I worry that being in a larger group is going to diminish my chances of having an encounter, but I don't know if that's the case. I think these people are having some decent encounters. I
Yeah,
mean,
I kind of like you too. I haven't been to a lot of big group stuff. I'm kind of on my own sometimes about things, so I totally respect that too. I don't know if you've been down to Klamath Falls, but I went camping down there like 10 years ago. And I always like forget to bring this up on shows. And like, have you had any encounters? But we went down there with some friends on some family's property, and it's in the middle of nowhere. You can buy land down there for like really cheap. And we just had generators and stuff. You can't see lights at all because it's like dark out there. We always called it you're on the moon. But yeah, our camp was like surrounded by something. I heard loud like breaking like branches at night. And I just remember we were kind of looking over there, we're all drinking our beers and everything. I'm like, huh, something big's out there. But we're just like partying, so I didn't think about it. And I told people here and there later, and they're like, oh yeah, that was just a deer. Deer watch people. And I'm like, oh, okay. But now I'm like, do deer really go out in the middle at like 2 a.m. like seeing their breaking branches like that loud, like watching you? I don't think so. And I think they probably are down in Klamath Falls.
oh, for sure. I'm sure you could find plenty of reports there. There's
Yeah.
just the encounters are just never ending. Every day there's hundreds new encounters all over the US. It really blows my mind some of the locations they are because I used to live in Marin County and there is a report from like the 70s from a sheriff or a sheriff deputy and he described a Bigfoot, run across the highway when there were less people living in Mill Valley, California at the time. And now it's like a pretty grown up, there's a lot of people out there now. But even like I think 10 years ago, I heard a story about someone in Petaluma, California, and no, everyone will be like, no, there's no Bigfoot there. But if you look at the map of the US and you look at the forests and you draw a line through the forest, there's a line you can connect through almost every single state, especially through the PNW. You can connect all of these mountain ranges. Basically, you can go through the mountains and the forest and never get seen. And you can go through very populated areas like Walnut Creek around there, outside Los Angeles. People are having encounters right outside the city of Los Angeles, right outside of big. There's some guy saw one in his field in Petaluma. He didn't say it was a Bigfoot. I said it was a Bigfoot. But what else is 4 feet above a 5 foot like cornfield? It's like and covered in hair. It's like, well, it's a Bigfoot to me, it sounds like. So they are I think there's more of them than we realize, and they're closer to us than we realize. People
I agree.
yeah, because people just don't even realize I've had to tell so many people that they had a Bigfoot encounter, they didn't know it. They just knew something weird happened with my dad and some friends. Like these people I knew, they were on this reality show with me, these twins, super sensitive. They were going into the woods, the right locations. They'd been doing it for a while. And I asked them, I was picking their brain, have you had anything weird? Have you heard any weird sounds? Have you smelt anything weird? And they're like, oh, yeah, this place we went, all of a sudden it would just smell like rotting trash. Like you flip a switch and all of a sudden it's just like rotting trash. Another trait, granted, I think there's another great ape that has that ability, and that's not so unusual to have the musk gland like that, but still, interesting that they have that ability. So I told them, well, that's something that is well known with Bigfoot. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not some possum or a muskrat, that's like they're wandering through an area and they hear things in the woods and then they're smelling the trash. Well, that's a Bigfoot. There's so many people have described that with Bigfoot, like the skunk ape. That's why they call it the skunk ape. It smells like a skunk. I believe they all have the ability they all have a musk gland where they can just at will emit a strong musk, and it smells like everybody says trash, wet dog, carcass, corpses. It's probably helps them with their pheromones, and they can, they could just spread their scent walking around, or they can scare things away. So it's kind of a interesting dual use tool. And Diane Boss here, she says, I'd love to save a baby Bigfoot. Now, this is a human who would grab a baby Bigfoot in the woods, and I think a lot of people would, like a cute baby Bigfoot. You're walking and you're like, I just got to pick it up and drive away, and I got a Bigfoot. And that's what they do to us. Like, they see our babies, and they're like, maybe they want that baby to have a baby. It's like alien baby. What if you saw an alien baby and you could just pick it up? You probably would.
They're like, I'm gonna take that.
Yeah.
Have you heard? I was talking to someone today that I've talked to for a while on and off about different stuff. He knew somebody out here as a kid that was feeding them, like, out on his property. But he went out recently with his kids, his boys, somewhere out here in Oregon, and they're driving. They pull over, and he's out there and he's peeling an apple, and he's telling me the story today in person. He's like, yeah, we heard this, like, we thought it was like a dog out in the woods, and this is in the middle of nowhere, and it's like a ow, 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 ow. And I'm like, that sounds like whooping, though, the way he did it. And have you ever heard of anything like that? Because they went down there to look for it, and there was, like, they couldn't find it, but it sounds like, let's get out of here. And I know these boys, they're not afraid of anything. I was like, really?
Yeah. I love that too, because everyone likes to tell me that, everyone will say that what you heard, it's fake, this or that. But it's like, if you were with me, like, I don't care who it is, and everyone who tells me, oh, Bigfoot's not real, it's like, all right, come with me. No, I'm not coming with you. It's like, why not? You have nothing to lose. We're just gonna have a beautiful hike. It's like, no, dude, I'm not doing that. It's like, you want to tell me Bigfoot's not real, but you won't come with me? I bet you I could get you a Bigfoot encounter. Anybody, a Bigfoot encounter in 10 trips or less, maybe 3 or 5 trips. You hundreds maybe heard this story. These people were abducted because they were like pets. Albert Ostman was a show and tell exhibit to his family, to the Bigfoot family. If you're familiar, if people haven't heard the Albert Ostman story, you have to look it up. It's the best Bigfoot story, period. And it's
Albert
before
Ostman.
The word Bigfoot. Albert Ostman. Okay, so I'll give you the gist of it. It was before the term Bigfoot was coined. I think it was the 20s. And he was by himself, a prospector in, I think it was Northern California. It could have been somewhere else, I forget. And he basically was in his sleeping bag. I think he had a gun and some chewing tobacco in the sleeping bag with him. And in the middle of the night, something grabbed his sleeping bag and threw it over its back, because he could feel the body of it, and he could hear it breathing. He could hear its breath going, like, he could hear the raspiness, and knew he was on the back of an animal, but he had no idea, because they had no idea what Bigfoot was. So he's on its back getting carried somewhere in the night, and then he gets dropped on the ground, and he comes out of his sleeping bag, and it's dark, and he's inside of a cave. And he's not too deep in the cave, but he looks, and there's these, what he describes as a family of Bigfoot. There's a male, there's a female. The female has a couple babies. He describes their family structures. He describes things like the Bigfoot Jane Goodall. We didn't even know about the gorillas at this time. There wasn't any information about primate behaviors. He describes their family structures that are very similar to other great ape family structures. How there's like, the male was always separated from the kids. They had strange dynamics. He describes this thing they would do where they'd scoot on their butt. It was like a game where they would use their hands, because their arms are so long, they could go like this, and then they could scoot on their butt. So the baby were doing that. So he was in this cave with these Bigfoot for a couple of days, and he couldn't leave. Yeah, he had a gun, but he eventually decided he was gonna try to escape. So he takes the chewing tobacco and he tosses it to the big male, and the male grabs the can of chewing tobacco and starts eating it, and gets really sick and just starts moaning, going, oh, and he goes, here's my chance. And he runs past the male, who's on the ground groaning with his stomach ache, past the female, past the babies, and he books it and gets home. And he didn't tell the story for so many years, but his details predated modern primatology, predated everything we know about Bigfoot, shared details about, I think, the smell of the breath, which has been corroborated with people since. Everything he said has been corroborated since. Like the smell of the breath, the texture of the skin, the hair, all these details, their feet, their nails, all these little details. And then they asked him on his deathbed, "So, Albert, were you just messing around?" No.
Sorry if you hear that background noise. Sorry, I've got my window open. The
That.
coyotes are screaming outside right now.
Oh man, yeah,
I can hear
we
them
got
howling.
man, we have wolves now. I wonder how that's gonna affect the whole Bigfoot thing. Bigfoot's not gonna like the wolves. We're probably gonna
Oh,
hate the wolves. But then again, it's
like
like I don't know.
Texas
Maybe the
and everything.
Bigfoot could steal wolf kills. I mean, if I were a Bigfoot, I would be afraid of a pack of wolves, or I don't know.
I don't know if
Pack
you
of
can hear
wolves.
them, but it's like really loud. They're like, oh, it's like a couple packs.
Oh yeah, I've been surrounded by coyotes. I love coyotes. They're cool, but now we have they reintroduced a wolf to California, and they've been reintroducing them all over the West. But the ones they reintroduced aren't the original wolves. They're like double the size. They're terrorists in the woods, and the whole like the scariest thing in the woods I used to think was a Bigfoot or a mountain lion. Now it's like, dude, you also have packs of pigs too, and now you have packs of wolves that are 200 pounds apiece. You don't even have enough guns to deal with that problem. Like you need machine guns and a squadron of Marines to deal with that. Should the wolves decide to attack, which I think it's only a matter of time until some kids get grabbed, some campgrounds. But the woods, you got to go. You got to go out there armed. I go out there with always a gun, bear spray, and now I have this sound gun device that emits really loud sound. So it'd scare off a bear or a mountain lion because I don't want to shoot anything. I want to avoid, like, it's just to scare stuff off. The gun is actually for people. That's the scariest thing in the woods always is the people. I've come across people, I've had people shoot, I've had bullets go right past my face. And yeah, that's what's happened going prospecting is I've been literally inches from death. Where I'm like, something's going by my ear, it's like, phew, phew. It's like, what is that? And then and then I hear the gunshots. I'm like, oh my god, those are bullets. They're like right next to my face. So it's always the people. I've come across some dangerous people out there. Almost had gunfights a few times. Oh, it's so scary. I'll take Bigfoot any day over random ass people in the woods.
Yeah, I was just warned by a local today saying, yeah, you got to kind of watch out for them if you're going to go to some areas that I've been finding out about. He goes, there was one time they're out there and somebody is like way up on this mountain that I won't name. I'll keep it anonymous, but there's people up there and they thought it'd be really funny to like shoot around him and some friends. Or no, it was his friend that it was happening to. So he's like, yeah, just be really careful if you go into these areas where he's had encounters. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, it gets pretty terrifying.
Well, you have people doing illegal pot grows too. I met
Yeah.
this guy and he told me he was a former cartel member. He's a friend of a friend. I'm like, great, I'm hanging out with a former cartel member. But it was interesting though, because he told me his whole job was to set up the grow. And he told me how they do it. He's like, basically, we go to the tops of the mountains and we set up this irrigation pipe. We run it this direction, a couple 100 feet. We'll go connect to this stream. We'll connect those. Then we'll go. I'm like, damn, you guys are all about this. Like, those are locations I would never think to have grows. But the point is, you think you're safe up there in the middle of nowhere. You come across a pot grow with armed cartel members, like that's the worst thing you can come across, period, is cartel. And they're still in the woods because there's still enough money in pot.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying because I know people have stumbled across cartel before.
Well, that area I've told you about, Klamath Falls, there is a girl up here in my area now that used to live down there. And she goes, yeah, it's getting really bad down there. They've been finding people like in fields and stuff down there. I'm like, really? So maybe don't go down there and look for Bigfoot.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff. I'll take 3-4 mountain lions. I'll take 12 wolves, but I won't take one cartel member. They have radios, they have connections, and it's just not something I'm gonna mess with at all. It's the worst thing ever too, because there's almost no escape. The moment they see you or you see them, it's like it's already too late. You're like, oh no. So you have to be careful because there's still plenty of cartel in the woods, and not just cartel. I've come across these Asians, elderly Asians with guns, very menacing. And what they
Nice.
were there to do, I had no idea this was a thing. But this is what some Asian cultures will do this. I think it's like the Vietnamese or the Chinese, I think. They'll get guns, they do this totally illegally. They go into the woods and they shoot anything that moves. And they take it and they go sell it or eat it. And they'll shoot anything, a squirrel, any bird they see.
This is in
Absolutely
like California.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
about
This one place I was at, I was in Long Canyon.
Wow.
And so what is it, like near Ramsey Crossing out there? I forget which fork of the American, but I'm out there by myself and I'm scouting for spotted dredge. I was prospecting the area, and it's the weirdest thing. I wasn't afraid of these people. I was armed, and there's like it was like kind of funny too. There's this really old, like super like 80 something year old dude, huge glasses, just walking with a rifle, and I walk past them and I'm just like, hey, and I don't think anything of it. And I pass them, and then they try to intimidate me by shooting shots around me. I'm like, these bastards, you want to really? Like, come on, man. Like, you better hit me with that thing. Like,
No, I think
but yeah,
about all this. Yeah. Every time someone's like, are you going to go out there and find one? I'm like, that's such a loaded question. There's so much that you're risking when you're trying to go in these areas sometimes.
but they have been known to save people too. I have heard of a story. Maybe you heard this. There's this hiker. Where was it? Somewhere in the Trinity Alps or something, and like broke an ankle or something. And this Bigfoot carried him back to his car, like ran him down the mountain and set him down because it knew this is a problem for me. If you're injured in my backyard, it's going to be full of people. And they know that because this has happened before. They know people. And that's what they would do too. It's just common sense. It's like injured, they're screaming, "Oh, help me!" It's like, oh God, there's going to be so many people here. I got to get this thing out of here, you know. So, you know, I think Bigfoot, they can, for the most part, they don't want to mess with us. I really believe that. But women are rolling the die. You know, it's more dangerous for women to go out there. 100%. Those males, they're kicked away. You know, they're horny. They're young. They just got kicked away from their family, probably at a couple years old or so. Who knows how old they are when they, but eventually they get big enough to where they have to leave the cave and they have to leave the family and they have to go start their own life. And that's usually when people have encounters with them too, is you get these young males and they take more risks. Thousands of stories of Bigfoot saving people. I like that. I'm sure there are. I haven't heard enough. Do you have any good ones?
I don't personally, but I got, so I'm kind of like on the research side, right? So I'm kind of always keeping an open mind to everything. And I feel like there's just a lot of information out there that we don't all know. So I feel like, you know, it's just like mountain lions, right? How many people, I know lots even that have been out there and, oh yeah, I saw a mountain lion and it just didn't care. It kept going or jumped down off the cliff and looked at me. And then you have the ones where it will eat people. So if these are wild human beings, they're capable of doing their own thing, you know, whether male or female or young or older, they're going to have their own choices that they're making also, I'm assuming. So not that they all kind of do the same thing. It's all kind of hit or miss on each experience is kind of what I've been noticing so far.
Yeah, I'd be curious what Gary Spikes Sr. knows, honestly, because thousands of stories, that's pretty incredible to hear something like that. Thousands of stories.
So Gary's in, so I'm part of like the Misfits, basically. I've been helping out with them for a long time, and everyone in chat, they've all kind of come from like BMR and Paranormal Paul, Truth or Tinfoil, Blondes and Booze. These are all great channels for you to check out. Donnie Cho says stuff, all great people. And then, so this community has also grown into all these other communities. Gary's a mod in like all the shows. So sometimes he's modding like 9 shows a day. Thank you so much, Gary, by the way, for everything you do. He just amazing guy. So he does that, and everyone in chat, like if you start watching like the live shows, they're kind of always in other shows. It's a really cool community. And I don't know, going forward, are you interested in doing more shows with people yourself?
Yeah, honestly, this is really wonderful because I was part of the gold community and I pulled back. And I say gold community, it's like such a vindictive like group of people, but the Bigfoot people are the opposite. It's all about spreading knowledge and the love and reverence for the outdoors, the animals, and the Bigfoot in particular. We want to protect this. No, and actually, it's really fascinating. I was watching this documentary recently, and thank you, JoJo, by the way. um, uh, there's this documentary I saw. It's really old, but gosh, there was stuff in there I had never heard about Bigfoot. It was blowing my mind. It was like from the 70s or something. I forgot the name, but this guy, there's footage of this Native American tribe. It's downstream. Well, they find bones and like they find a leg of an unknown creature and it's got flesh on it, and they can move. They show the leg and it's like rotting flesh, but it basically is like the leg of a baby Bigfoot. When you look at the anatomy and the flesh, it's an unknown creature and it seems to be possibly the anatomy of a baby Bigfoot. And they didn't come to that conclusion, but it appeared to be the logical conclusion. So honestly, it's really cool because now this time coming back into the Bigfoot thing, I'm like, I love the people. I think I want to be part of this community. I love just this because it's people in the Bigfoot community are also higher vibrational people. Like when you get into Bigfoot, it's just the tip of the iceberg. You because if you weren't aware of paranormal stuff before Bigfoot, then it's going to make you go, oh well, then what about ghosts, demons, angels, all that stuff? And now I was kind of hard-headed like 26 when I started doing this. I'm 41 now. It's been 15 years since I really went hardcore deep adventure wood stuff. And now I've had ghost, demon, I know angels are real. I know Bigfoot's real. I've been attacked. I've had so many different paranormal encounters. It's just so matter of fact to me, but there's so many layers to it. Just when you think you've heard it all, there's so much more. And even with Bigfoot, it's like just when you think you've heard it all, we have one of your guests say thousands of people have been saved. It's like thousands, like even 100. It sounds like a big number to me. Like to hear that come out, that's incredible, and that offsets all the bad stuff. And I think
Well, and
that
it
kind
could
of
be too. Yeah, it could be like if you had a good experience and something came and saved you, maybe the last thing you'd want to do is go and tell people. But if you had a bad experience, you'd want to go tell people more. So maybe that's why more of those reports come out faster.
yeah, yeah. Well, negativity comes out faster regardless. People are
Right.
like, what? They're going to tell like 7 or 10 people about a negative thing, but like one person about a good thing. It's just human nature, But I love this because I actually pulled away from the Bigfoot community and I was like, I've heard it all. I've read all of the BFRO reports, all whatever, a couple of thousand on there. I've read everything I could get, but now so much has come out since I've been interested in the subject last time. And now
Yeah.
people like you and Jeremiah are just opening the floodgates of information on this subject. And I just really love what you guys are doing. I love the vibe. I love the people. I'm probably going to go on BFRO expeditions just to meet people and hear stories, just to connect with other like minded people, because there are also people who are pretty keen to other paranormal stuff too.
No, I
Um,
agree. I was just thinking that too.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, especially if it's something like life saving, because it's so much more hard to believe. I tell people like I found life changing gold. And I got chased out by Bigfoot, and they're like, they don't believe any of that. You know, yeah, Bigfoot people are great people because, and not just Bigfoot people, because they're the exact same people as the paranormal people. They're pretty much the same. Like someone like me, I'll probably go ghost hunting one week. I'll go Bigfoot hunting the next week. And so for me, it's just, I have a fascination with the mystery of the world. I have to figure out, I have to do my best to understand as much of this as possible. Jeremiah's amazing, legit dude. He's doing a lot of good things for the community. I appreciate him. He's like a hub now. I can't believe it.
Oh yeah, he's why I got into this too, because I started hearing about local reports near me and I'm like, no way, they're like in my backyard. That's crazy. And I couldn't get enough. I mean, I can't even keep up with all the shows coming out daily. I'll go on there and there's just so many people that I love. And I mean, there's 10 to 20 shows a day and I'm trying to keep up with all this information. And back in 2012, the birth of YouTube, I remember trying to find everything I could out there and I might have found 6 to 12 videos back then. And that was kind of it for like 10 years. And now it's like like you said, the floodgates have opened and so much is coming out. And on top of that, a lot more people, and I'm talking people with reports from the 60s and 70s are finally coming out and going, yeah, like this happened to me. And they're not afraid anymore.
They're just now figuring it out. Like they're like, Bigfoot, it's like a joke now. It's just like, Bigfoot is just a meme now, hanging out on a beach with a martini now, which makes people even believe more that it's fake because there's all this commercialization of it. But here's the thing, anything that's a legend like that is like that for a reason. And for example, like the Aztec, Mayan culture, Central South America, Hindi, Islam, 8,000 years of history, those cultures, they have similar things in them. And places with Bigfoot, you see this too. That's how you know it's real. It's because the land bridge, when the land was connected, okay, Russia was having incidents. The places they should be, they've had them. And it makes sense. It's all very logical. So, I forgot where I was going with that, but
I just heard something outside. I'm like, it was like crashing in the bushes out. I live like out on like acreage, so it's like a little.
Oh, nice.
I'm like,
you could have a Bigfoot encounter right now, anytime.
That would be the best one. Like he's like looking through my window.
Yeah, that's Bigfoot TV. I think they said on Finding Bigfoot because the woods is very predictable to a Bigfoot. Everything's the same except for us. So we're very interesting to them. And so what's interesting to them? Looking in our windows is like us looking at a TV. They're like, what channel's on? Oh, it's a human eating potato chips on the bed. Like they're like, oh, that's interesting. This is really interesting. Like look at all
I do like
color.
leave my window open a lot at night and I just kind of like I'll go out there and I'll like flash the light on real quick to see if I see one. But I found some like kind of crazy prints out here, and I went out one time and there's this tree by apple tree, which they love apples, lots of reports of apples, and there's always deer out there. And I go out one morning to inspect and I see this like giant, like it looked like a walking stick was just pushed up into the tree and the whole bottom of it's like missing bark. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this isn't even from this tree. Where'd it come from? So I ask everyone in my family and they're like, we didn't put it there. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty crazy. So I'm just always keeping my eye out, and I'll kind of get up at like 1 or 2 in the morning and kind of go out and watch my cameras and see if I see anything like out there moving around.
Yeah. I hope you have cameras surrounding your house at least with some, central hub recording stuff.
I did have trail cams. I took them down for a while just to see if, maybe I'd see one because they know what trail cams are, and I might get some cellular ones here soon. And I'm actually thinking about getting into doing drone footage too soon, but I'm going to probably talk to Miguel over at Sasquatch Theory. I don't know if you've seen his channel, but he's really into all like the tools and everything. So definitely check his channel out for tools.
Yeah, I've seen his. There's what was I going to say was I was going to ask a question. Bigfoot TV, yes. I was going to ask a question to one of your people. I forgot. Oh my gosh, there's honestly this footage there. Oh yeah, I was going to ask about Todd Standing. Now, how does he stand in the community? Is he pretty shaky? Are people believing that basically he had good intentions, but he faked stuff with good intentions? Like, or
so with him, I don't. So like with me, I don't really discuss like certain people because they could always come after you later and go, oh, it's like a character thing or something. So I'm really careful about like ever saying like museums or people with shows. But I always tell people, go out there and do the research because whatever you want to find, you'll come to your own conclusions about people and their findings.
Yeah. So his documentary, very, very compelling. He's going to the right places. He has the right skill sets. He was a former sniper. He's not afraid of anything. He's in places that have Bigfoot, and he's been going to these places enough. He's passionate enough to where he should have had encounters. So I believe that he has had encounters. I will see a Bigfoot. I have a plan for when I see a Bigfoot too, Diane. I have a whole plan about my body language and the way I approach the situation so that I can be friends with it best I can. But yeah, Todd Standing, he has this Discovering Bigfoot is the documentary, and he edited it himself. So because of that, it's got a lot of junk in there that doesn't need to be in there. You typically don't want directors and writers to also direct the movie, because he saves all the good stuff towards the last quarter. And he has some very compelling images of different individuals of Bigfoot, different shapes and sizes, colors. There's one during the day in particular that has this brown face and it has these lips like this. And,
yeah, I've seen it.
And they put the side by side of Todd Standing's face with this thing, and they're like trying to make the comparison. Then it's Todd Standing in makeup, and I'm just like, that would be hilarious if it was him. It would be the best makeup job ever. But I'm not saying it's not possible. I do. It definitely made me feel like, because here's the thing: when BFRO did an episode on Todd Standing way before Discovering Bigfoot footage, where he's got these close-ups of Bigfoot faces, like 3 different ones. He has a baby that looks like a monkey, like a spider monkey. We're talking about what we would do if you saw, you know what, PNW Rush, you will. You keep going out there in the PNW. It's only a matter of time. You go to the right places or the wrong places, however you see it, you're going to see it. So Todd Standing, he had 3 individuals, so he had to fake 3 individuals. And the third one they call like the demon squatch or something. That one looks the most compelling to me. It's got all black skin. Its face is under a log. He zooms in and you get some HD close-up of it. Do you recall that, Sarah? Have you seen it?
I think so. I've seen so many different ones out there.
So this one is like zoom in HD. You can see the red. You see red in its eyes, really big eyes, really wide nose, exact description of how people describe their faces. Very human, but also very gorilla, like with the deep creases in the skin. And I think you see some twitching in the muscles as well. And so he had to fake all 3 of those. And then there's all this other stuff. But here's why I think I'm skeptical about him, is because the BFRO people interviewed him before that, and they deemed him to not be trustworthy. And they wouldn't go into specifics, but they're believing all sorts of toothless, people out in the woods, like, yeah, this thing jumping out. And they're like, yeah, he's telling the truth. But Todd Standing, with the footage that he showed them, and they're like, we don't believe this guy. And so I don't know, maybe it just comes off in a way that you just don't believe him. He was desperate.
And I'm not sure. I try not to like get into like other people's, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to like discredit or credit certain places, because I'm just trying to like do my own thing. Yeah. And I feel like that's where a lot of people should focus, is not be, focusing on, what other researchers or channels and whatnot are doing, and just kind of go out and do your own thing and discover what you want on your own. Because I'm like I've told people, I'm kind of just out here doing my own. I'm not trying to join any like teams or anything. I'm just, and sometimes that's when you find stuff, or that's when you find research. And I call myself kind of the great observer. I'll kind of watch all the stuff and come to my own conclusions.
that's the way to be in life, and this is how I found my best gold too. And I think this is how you find anything, is you have to follow your own compass, and you attune yourself to whatever vibration you want. And if that vibration is Bigfoot, then you will go find a Bigfoot. It's
exactly.
as simple as that. You think Bigfoot, you feel Bigfoot, you live it, you breathe it.
If people want to see a picture of one that is like 100% real, the Patterson-Gimlin Patty has been deemed like 100% real by pretty much everyone. Yeah, that one. So I always point everyone to that one if they're asking me like, where's the picture? And I always feel safe with that one.
There's a whole chapter on this in this book right here. There's at least one chapter. In fact, there's several chapters in this book on this whole incident, which people may not realize. it wasn't just video, it was backed up with tracks, casts. So
Right.
there's 2 layers of evidence right there. And so you have to fake the cast. Here's the thing, even now, we still can't replicate this. Nobody can replicate this. Even with technology now, with robotics, we still can't do this because, okay, there's details in here I missed. And this isn't even the best photo, but you have a flexing of a quadriceps, a very clear, defined quadriceps, clear, defined glutes. Right here, you have you can see the hip bone, you can see the flexing of a tricep, and then you can see a bicep flexing. And then I can't see it in here, but you can see it a little bit. There's actually a hemorrhage, a muscle hemorrhage on the quadricep of this poor female Bigfoot, and you see the breasts as well. But
Do you see the baby?
you know,
There's
I
supposed to
can,
be like a baby, like that dark part on her arm, I think, or it's like in between right here. If you look at it, you can actually see it right there.
yeah,
According to some
I
people,
don't know if I can see it as well here. Yeah, as I recall, was this one where they? Yeah, I know there's several ones where there were babies. I actually kind of
I
forgot.
think it's that picture. If you look at
Was
it,
it?
it's they're saying like, and I might be wrong, but I think that some people have said it
I know
almost
the
looks like it's
the
holding on to it.
Memorial,
I'm
is
not
it the
sure.
Memorial Day where there's one on the back? I think Memorial Day footage. Remember the Memorial
Independence
Day
Day.
footage?
Was
The
it Independence
Memorial.
Day or something?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That footage. Yeah, it's going across this
And it's
long
got the
stretch.
baby.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's swinging around its body. But yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things to here that people might miss, and there's so much like the way it walks, you can't emulate that because the
No.
way they walk, you can't emulate. We have a compliant or they have a gait. They have a certain angle to their gaits, and we cannot emulate that. We just can't. So, you give a robotics expert $1 billion. It'd take them $1 billion and a lot of time to develop this, and then it'd be the most advanced robot of all time. And this was made 50 years ago. So,
Well, even the muscle detail too, if you had a costume back then, you're not gonna have different highlights on like a costume on the leg. So like on the leg there, when you see like the lighter and the darker, somebody's not gonna go obviously. So I mean that's already been debunked. Everyone knows in that community, like, oh yeah, this one's real. Like it's Bigfoot. It was Patty. So that's the big famous one. And whenever
yeah.
I meet people that are like, wait, they still haven't heard the news that Bigfoot's real, I'm like, look into Patty. Just look into Patty.
Yeah, actually, that's how I got into Bigfoot is because my friend was watching Finding Bigfoot in the room next to me, and I'm like, Bigfoot, that's so fake. And he's like, yeah, you should look into it. There's some pretty compelling evidence these days, and this was 15 years ago almost. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. So I'm going to get on my computer and prove you wrong. And I just started digging and digging. And the more I dug, I didn't leave my room for 2 days because I came to the realization by myself that Bigfoot was real because there's enough hard evidence, layers of evidence, so much evidence. And now with you guys and your reports of people coming out from the government, I mean, you have documents, pamphlets of people from the government who've seen physical pamphlets from 50 plus years ago where it shows pictures of Bigfoot on, and they're like, okay, yeah, so we're going to be doing bombing exercises. And yeah, expect to see some Bigfoot wandering around if you do, or like Marines in the woods, like be aware of figures in the trees. And I've had Marines tell me like we saw Bigfoot in the trees. And so it's like there's too many layers. And how many do you need to prove it's real thank you. I do all sorts of adventures. I do animals. I do, including dangerous animals, swimming with like sharks, mountain lions, bears, grizzly bears, polar bears, um, gold prospecting, gold mining, Bigfoot, uh, hiking, exploring. I'm trying to just create like this ultimate hybrid adventure channel, and then crazy adventure adrenaline stuff that scares me. Like I got to go live life. I've been living like kind of, it's been rough for a minute, so I'm trying to catch up for lost time. I got to go jump off some cliffs, I don't know, base jump, bungee jump. I got to go live life. That's what the channel is all about, is living the best life. And
All right.
Bigfoot ties into that, like for me,
I like
I
it.
want to just ascend my knowledge, and Bigfoot is like, okay, yeah, Bigfoot's real. And just when I think like, all right, Bigfoot's real, it's like, wait, you don't know about this thing about Bigfoot. It's like, wait, what thing? It's like, Yeah, well, we saw walk into a UFO and, or did this or that, or it's like abducted these people and, like in the 1800s, abduct some woman and then tries to feed them food. And it's like, gosh, there's so many stories that just never end. Because there's so many people who aren't sharing them. So many guys who live in the woods and they're like, they're too manly to share their story. It's like, it's not tough or manly of them to, it's like, come on, guys, we need every story we can get. We need to know where they are. But some of these people are trying to protect them from government, and I get that.
Yeah, and I think too sometimes people, I agree with everything you're saying. Sometimes they also, it's like, it's kind of their story, and it's, whether they have PTSD associated with that because it was traumatic, or if they just don't want to relive it. They might tell you a little bit, but they don't go out there and like broadcast it to the world. And some of those stories are kind of my favorite because I know those are real, because I've had to kind of ask people about those, and they kind of go, well, yeah. And it might be a few times I see someone till they kind of go, yeah, I did see one, or I know someone that saw one. And I'm like, okay, this person's definitely, telling the truth. Like we had one here in Oregon, and this is somebody who I've met multiple times, and he went out there and he got a deer through his scope out in this open field, and a Bigfoot came out and tried to take it from him. And he's looking through his scope, and at first he thought it was a bear, but he's looking at it and it was like a tall black Bigfoot. And it comes out and it like tries to get the deer, so he pops off 3 shots near it, and like it kind of takes off it does a jump, and it like takes off through the woods. And this hunter, he's a big old hunter, and I'm like, he's so calm about it. And I'm like, why weren't you excited? Why won't you let Bigfoot take your deer? In my mind I'm thinking it's a gift for Bigfoot. He's like, that was my deer. That was my deer.
So I would have the opposite. I'd be so happy to be like, I gave that deer to Bigfoot. You're welcome. I fed Bigfoot dinner tonight. Like,
Right.
I've heard this story before. The same story from different people, where it's like these deer hunters. It's like, come on, man. There's like millions of deer out there. You can let this one go. Like, let Bigfoot have a win. Come on, let your older brother get a win. Like this is. It's like reparations,
The deer story ones are my favorite.
It's so funny. I've heard this before. The deer hunters, it's like they're so like territorial. That's my deer. Those mythical creature's not going to get my deer. It's like, bro, it's just
and there is another one. I just met this guy a couple weeks ago, and he comes up from the coast, and he's like, oh, so what are you into? And I go, oh, I just kind of watch nature documentaries, Bigfoot, cougar, Bigfoot. And I go, yeah. And he goes, I've seen one. I'm like, really? Do you want to tell me about it? And he goes, well, yeah, I was out on the Oregon coast somewhere, undisclosed location, but he sees a couple of grouse up in a tree, which is like a big pheasant. And his buddy sees one, and he sees one. So he gets one, and his buddy gets one. And he goes, there's this big, like, log looking, like, tree stump underneath it with, like, moss growing all over it. And this stump, like, moves over, and it, like, grabs the birds, and it, like, takes off. And this guy's like serious, like he's very serious. And I'm like, no way. And he goes, yeah. Took him a minute and a half to get down into that area. And they get down there and there's just feathers. I'm like, well, what it look like? What's its face look like? I'm asking all the questions. He's like, we couldn't see it. It just took off through this like opening, and it was just gone. But it must have had just been like, I'm assuming like sitting there waiting for them, like for the, the birds. Maybe it was hunting them, or maybe it was taking a nap. I had so many questions. But this guy, I go, have you ever been on a podcast or told anyone about it? Do you mind if I talk about it? He goes, I don't mind, but I just kind of keep it to myself. I'm like, what? That's crazy.
A lot of people sitting on these encounters. I honestly didn't tell any of my stories or these other stories I'm telling. I've been sitting on these for years too, because I didn't care. I was just like, no one's going to believe me. No one's going to, I'm just that crazy person. But talking with you guys is really nice.
Exactly. Pretty much, it's just, I know maybe this is the year where I say, I'm going to see a Bigfoot. I'm going to do everything I can to see a Bigfoot. I know I have to, but, I appreciate being part of this, and I love what you're doing, Sarah. You're awesome.
Yes,
I think your audience is awesome. They're obviously, big parts of the community. I got to check out all these people and dig into your guys' channels. And I'm sure by the end of the year, I'm going to have some better stories to tell, because this is the year of adventures for me. I'm finally healthy. I'm gonna see a Bigfoot. That's one of my. I need to see that. I need that. So when I do, I'll let you know, because I believe it will happen 100%. And there's still stories I didn't even tell, but there's, needless to say, there's so many. There's so many of them. So thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you all for being a part of this.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Eric. And I will see you next time.
I can't hear a thing, but this has been awesome, Sarah. Thank you.
All right.
Stay squatchy, everyone.
Searching for prints and a mystical spark. Climbing the ridgeline where the air gets thin. The hunt for the legend is about to begin. Chasing the legend through a neon haze. Lost in the woods for nights and days. The signal is peaking, the truth won't fade. Hunting the wild with Bigfoot face. Thank you for watching the Bigfoot Face Show, where untold stories are heard. Pacific Northwest stories, the secrets we keep.